This page, right then, it's the front cover of DC UK Magazine, issue number 1 no less, street date 9th of September 99. Bold as brass it is, proclaiming King Console, and boasting about the Dreamcast, demolishing the competition with 40 killer games, 128-bit power, and online multiplayer gaming. The main image is clearly from Trick Style. It's got that distinctive futuristic vibe and extreme sports look. They're billing it as a world-first review, and asking the real reason to buy Dreamcast. Looks like they're pushing Trick Style as the system seller. Fair enough, it was a decent launch title. Down in the corner we've got Tekken is dead bit provocative, probably stirring up some console wars there. And then the Big Bang feature, all about how Sega created the Dreamcast. Must be a bit of a retrospective piece, looking at their ambition. There's also a little box shouting about a free video with Hot Games cool prizes and listing games like Sonic Adventure, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, Soul Calibur, Marvel vs. Capcom and UEFA Striker as examples. Standard cover stuff really, grabbing your attention and telling you what's inside. The next page is an advert, pushing a few racing titles for the Dreamcast. We've got Speed Devils there, American hot rod style arcade racing, then Racing Simulation Monaco Grand Prix, sounds a bit more serious that one, and Suzuki All-Star Extreme Racing, which is bikes by the look of it, all flagged as coming soon. And on the right, it's plugging DC UK Magazine itself as the place to go for all the Dreamcast gen you need. Burn rubber, live the dream, they're saying, trying to get you revved up for it all. This page is the contents page for issue number 1. They're calling it the Insides, outed, and boasting about Trickstyle from Criterion Studios being the cover game. Right off the bat in the DNL Reviews section, they've got a world-exclusive review of Trickstyle, naturally, alongside Sonic Adventure, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, House of the Dead 2, Sega Rally 2, Expendable and Incoming all getting the review treatment. DC Express is the news section, covering the UK Dreamcast launch bonanza, Sega's plans in the US, and rumblings about Resident Evil coming to the Dreamcast. D-Faces spotlights Craig Sullivan, the fella behind Trickstyle. DC Next looks forward to Soul Calibur, must be a preview as it's a bit early for a full review, and DC World has a Sonic Player's Guide and some hints for Trickstyle. The on-the-cover box highlights the Joy Machine feature about the Dreamcast itself, the Trickstyle review being a world first, and mentions Tekken being dead bit harsh, but maybe referring to Soul Calibur overshadowing it. Soul Calibur gets another mention as cutting him down, and on the right it's pushing a free DC UK video if you buy the magazine, featuring Trickstyle, Power Stone, GTA 2, Air Force Delta, Speed Devils, Monaco GP2, Incoming, Mortal Kombat Gold, Hydro Thunder, and Ready 2 Rumbles. Sounds like a decent starter issue covering all bases. This page is an advert for Millennium Soldier, Expendable. It's pitching itself as a futuristic, action-packed shooter set way in the future. Ad 2463. Boasting about creating the ultimate fighting machine. They're highlighting features like full 360-degree environments, 20 missions across 6 different locations, co-op play, bonus levels, and a load of devastating weapons. The advert also quotes Dreamcast Monthly, calling it a highly addictive arcade shoot-'em-up, and Total Dreamcast Magazine saying it's explosive, furious and satisfying. And down at the bottom, it's got the logos for Dreamcast and PlayStation, along with a website address if you were interested to find out more. Looking at the content page summary, it seems Expendable actually gets a review in this very issue, so we'll see what they really thought of it shortly then. This page showcases a full-page advert for Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie on VHS, proclaiming think fast, and promising that it will answer the prayers of millions of Sega game players. It highlights the movie as an animated spectacular, playing on the attitude and speed of Sonic. Alongside the advert, we've got the team section for DC UK Magazine. It features mugshots and brief bios of the staff. Casper Field is listed as the editor, Keith Stewart as associate editor, Esther Woodman as deputy editor, and so on down to Lee Hart as a writer. Each member has a little blurb about themselves and their favorite game. Things like Keith Stewart enjoying Sega bass fishing and Christian Day, bizarrely listing Naked Twister as his favorite. It's a bit of a light-hearted intro to the people behind the magazine. The next page features a review of Trickstyle, billing it as a cyberpunk future where everyone rides hoverboards. It sets the scene by saying to leave your car in the garage as 4 wheels are so last century, quite right. The review itself is enthusiastic. It acknowledges the reviewer's initial cynicism about using the word radical, but then admits that Trickstyle is a perfectly acceptable descriptor. They explain that the game is far more than just a Wipeout clone on hoverboards, highlighting the sophisticated physics that replicates human movement, and the seamless blend of stunt-based racing with freestyle stunting. The reviewer reckons this combination is like fish and chips, a winning formula. The page is plastered with screenshots showing off the hoverboard racing action, with characters pulling off tricks on these futuristic boards. The cityscapes in the background look suitably cyberpunk, and the riders are all decked out in colorful futuristic gear. It's a vibrant-looking game, that's for sure. The next page continues the Trickstar review, and it seems they're really rather impressed by it. They reckon Trickstar uses some seriously clever physics to make the hoverboard movement realistic, which is a big plus. Apparently the game's set in the year 2260, and global warming has completely transformed the planet into a tropical place with submerged cities like Tokyo and New York rebuilt on stilts. Sounds like a mad world. The review mentions stunt parks being key for challenges and practicing tricks, and that there are 5 tracks and a boss race in each country: UK, USA, and Japan. Once you've nailed the races, you can then take on the boss race, win new boards, and move on to the next location, the US, and then the ultra-tough Japanese levels. They highlight the track design as top-notch in both graphics and layout. There are more screenshots showing off the gameplay in different locations like London and Japan, and there's also a section called The Fall Guy, which lists trick names and button combos like the kickflip, gyro trick, backflip, and hand switch. There's also a guidance box mentioning an in-game guide who gives you new tricks. They reckon the game's got a good mix of racing and stunts, and it all comes together really well. They're still raving about it, saying it's like a delicious cake, fancy a slice. Seems like they're really sold on this one. This review continues to laud Trickstyle, praising its futuristic cityscapes as ideal hoverboard playgrounds. The physics engine is lauded for its realism, essential for the gameplay. The learning curve is well balanced, offering easy pick-up-and-play mechanics with room for mastery. Track design receives positive comments, highlighting its visual appeal and structure. Screenshots showcase locations like Japan and London, with humorous captions adding personality. A second opinion notes improvements in the Dreamcast version, specifically addressing slowdown issues seen in earlier demos, hailing it as a showcase. An expert witness confirms the game's quality and hype, highlighting convincing rider animation. The graphics are nearly flawless, with only minor Dreamcast limitations. A player's guide is available for assistance. Overall, the review maintains a positive outlook, calling Trickstyle a compelling game. Rahai. Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast is proclaimed as a leap forward, exceeding all previous Sonic titles. The review highlights the evolution of the character and gameplay for a new 120-bit era. While expectations were high, Sega largely delivered. The game features a story focused on Sonic stopping Dr. Robotnik and Chaos, with multiple playable characters including Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big the Cat, and E102. Visually, Sonic Adventure impresses with stunning 3D graphics and detailed environments, though it suffers from occasional pop-up issues. The review is largely positive, praising the game's vast improvements while acknowledging minor flaws. A retro Sonic panel provides historical context, mentioning Sonic's 1992 debut and design by Yuji Naka. This page features a glowing review for Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, awarding it a solid 9 out of 10 and calling it a beautiful thing. The review acknowledges the hype surrounding the game and confirms that Sega has largely delivered on its promises. Visually, the game is praised for its stunning 3D environments and consistent 50 to 60 frames per second performance, although the reviewer does note some camera issues and collision detection glitches, especially in the Emerald Coast stage. The article highlights the variety of gameplay offered by the different playable characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Big the Cat, each with their own unique abilities and storylines that intertwine. There's mention of subgames, like snowboarding and racing in Twinkle Park, to add to the main adventure. The review also touches upon the Chaos Garden feature, describing them as Tamagotchi-style creatures, and details how to access and interact with them, including using the VM unit. The reviewer concludes that while there might be some minor flaws, Sonic Adventure is an excellent game, and a significant leap forward for Sonic, offering a vast and varied adventure that should please both newcomers and longtime fans, even if some action stages feel a bit linear compared to Knuckles' more open exploration. This page dives into a review of Virtua Fighter 3 TB, proclaiming it as arguably the best fighting game in the arcades and now, naturally, at home on the Dreamcast. It's described as the Muhammad Ali of fighting games, oozing style and class. The review is overwhelmingly positive, praising the game's combat engine and the depth it offers players. The screenshots showcase in-game action with characters like Law, Sarah, Shun and Lion in various stages. It highlights the strategic approach to fighting in Virtua Fighter 3 TB, contrasting it with other em-up games, emphasizing the importance of positioning, dodging and tactical play, with a focus on learning the game's intuitive control system and mastering moves and combinations. The reviewer notes the satisfying learning curve and the visual spectacle of experienced players dueling. The ring-out feature and arena design with varying heights and ledges are also mentioned as key elements that add to the tactical depth and strategy. It concludes by reiterating that Virtua Fighter 3 TB is arguably the best fighting game available. The next page continues the rave review of Virtua Fighter 3 TB, basically saying it's essential unless you absolutely loathe fighting games, or maybe even if you're a die-hard Tekken fan. There's a second opinion which suggests Tekken players might need a bit of time to adjust to VF3 TB. They are really pushing the visual quality, describing it as gorgeous, and highlighting the character models, animations, and frame rate as top-notch. They're really keen on saying it's the most polished fighter you could get on a home console. There's a section dedicated to the stages, explaining how the Dreamcast's 3D tech is used to create realistic and varied fighting environments, mentioning things like steps, slopes and even stages with bobbing rafts. And they've given it a very respectable 9 out of 10 from DC UK, so it's clearly a winner in their book. This review praises the House of the Dead 2 on Dreamcast as an excellent arcade conversion and a must-have light gun title. The reviewer highlights its improved visuals and new modes, making it a thrilling experience, especially on a large TV. The gameplay involves shooting zombies, rescuing civilians, and facing challenging bosses. The review humorously describes specific enemy types, like the Venga Bus zombie and the fishy second boss. The game emphasizes fast-paced action and a slightly campy horror tone. Overall, the review conveys a highly positive impression, emphasizing the fun and arcade-style action the game delivers. This page is another chunk of the review for the House of the Dead 2 from DC Now. It continues singing the praises of this cracking arcade conversion. They're calling it a game that just about anyone can pick up and play, highlighting the visceral zombie blasting action, although naturally it's not for the little ones due to the gore. They mention it might take a few days of practice to get through it properly, but once you do, it's well worth the replay value. They touch upon the sound and visuals being top-notch, as you'd expect from a Dreamcast title. There's a little gun crazy box, praising Sega's light gun controller. Good bit of kit it was too. Right at the bottom they've slapped a DC UK 8 score on it, so a solid recommendation then. Over on the right there's a Dreamcast advert, big globe thing, promoting the Dreamcast Europe website. The next page features a review of Sega Rally 2, and they're asking if this new iteration will be as fast and furious as the original. They reckon Sega Rally 2 is more about control power slides than sticking to the road like Scale Xtric, which sounds about right for a rally game, doesn't it? Apparently it's a simulation at heart, but with a strong arcade vibe. They mention 4 stages: desert, mountain, snow and the French Riviera. Good mix that. They're saying it's got an hour plus of gameplay, which is decent, and reckons an average player can clear a season within a couple of days of relaxed play. They've highlighted a classic collectibles box, mentioning that if you complete a season in first place, you unlock bonus cars from the 60s, 70s and 80s, like the Alpine and the 205, and the Fiat 131 Abarth Rally proper retro motors. There's also a little online section mentioning that online play is coming but might be a bit delayed for UK Dreamcast owners, expected around April when the Euro network is properly set up. Looks like they reckon it's a good bit of arcade fun, encouraging power sliding your way to the finish line. Sega Rally 2 is praised for its engaging gameplay, striking a balance between arcade thrills and simulation depth. The review highlights the joy of navigating challenging sections at high speeds, with satisfying power slides. Players can customize their cars with adjustable transmission, gear ratios, and suspension. The game features 16 diverse stages, including muddy and island themes, along with weather and day/night variations. While acknowledging minor criticisms, like potentially short tracks and a slight floating appearance, the review focuses on the positives. It commends the game's accessible and rewarding gameplay, with car comparisons showcasing handling differences. Ultimately, Sega Rally 2 is considered a well-aged and visually impressive arcade racer on the Dreamcast. It's lauded for its accessibility and rewarding gameplay, earning a DC UK 7 score, signifying a strong, enjoyable experience, though perhaps not a genre-defining classic. This page features a review of the Dreamcast game Expendable, a shoot-'em-up that the magazine describes as a flashback to the genre's roots. It's presented as a game where you draw your guns and take no prisoners. Developed by Rage Software, the review highlights its gameplay as heavily favoring gonzo power-ups, drawing comparisons to classic coin-op blasters like R-Type. The reviewer notes, the gameplay is reminiscent of arcade classics like Gauntlet and Gunsmoke, with a distant third-person perspective. The review mentions the game being fun in two-player mode, and praises the graphics as impressive, especially the smooth scrolling and massive, colorful explosions. It notes the game's camera angle can sometimes unexpectedly shift perspective, as a minor defect. The screenshots show chaotic on-screen action with explosions and various enemies. One screenshot highlights, blowing up enemy lab equipment awards you with bonus points. Another mentions a boss encounter, and another discusses opening doors to progress by shooting big green dome things. The notes on the side offer light-hearted descriptions of the screenshots, like, things can get messy in two-player mode, and these skybound thingies can be a real pain in the... before it cuts off. This page features the conclusion of the Expendable review, awarding it a solid 6 out of 10. The reviewer, Stephen Lawson, reckons it's a refreshing blast of arcade-style action for those who fancy themselves as action heroes, just like the old coin-op days, though he does wonder if it'll hold everyone's attention for long these days. The screenshots are still showing off the explosive chaos, with side notes pointing out things like Brucey bonuses and enemy droids, and a funny one about a chap doing the splits after a shot. On the right side of the page is a bold advert for Capcom's Power Stone. It's pushing the message, to feel the power is to play the game, and showcases that distinctive Capcom artistic style. The advert uses quotes praising the game, calling it massively addictive, cleverly realized and simply beautiful from Edge magazine, awarding it a 9 out of 10 and declaring it a jewel in the Dreamcast's crown. Arcade magazine also chimes in, stating Power Stone is probably the closest any game on a home system has come to the coin-op quality that video games have always strived for, giving it a 6 out of 6. It mentions the game is reviewed as an import/NTSC version, and includes the website for Eidos, the publisher. Incoming, a game aiming for classic alien invasion action, receives a 5/10 rating. The review, written by Stephen Lawson, describes it as pretty average, despite its impressive graphics and vehicle variety. Gameplay involves repetitive shooting, similar to Independence Day. Players defend bases against alien waves, piloting tanks, helicopters, and fighters. The game boasts stunning visuals, originally showcased on PC using 3D FX technology, with impressive explosions. While the Dreamcast handles it well, frame rate drops are noted. Caption screenshots highlight various gameplay moments, including battleships, helicopter attacks, and fighter combat, as well as the game's focus on its visuals. A seek and destroy side panel emphasizes fighter jet combat. Incoming seems visually appealing, but potentially lacking in depth, offering a quick burst of action rather than sustained engagement. UK import charts showcase popular Japanese Dreamcast titles. Power Stone topped the charts, followed by Sega Rally 2 and Virtua Fighter 3 TB. Soul Calibur was the most requested game. DC UK highlighted Air Force Delta, praising its visuals. A section featuring opinions reveals mixed reactions. Some enjoyed House of the Dead 2 and Sega Rally 2, while others found Power Stone slow or disliked Sega Rally 2's controls. Opinions on graphics and gameplay varied, with some comparing Power Stone to Tekken and others admiring Sega Rally 2's wild style. This page showcases a review of the game Trick Style, written from the perspective of pro skater Flynn Trotman. He's giving his expert opinion on Criterion's hoverboard masterwork. The review is set in Bath's Victoria Park, where a group of skate brats, as they call them, are gathered to watch Flynn play. Apparently, Flynn had an injured ankle, but still agreed to perform for the photo shoot. Good on him. He's impressed with Trick Style, noting the physics feel similar to skateboarding, but with a hoverboard twist. He reckons it captures what hoverboarding would be like. He's also impressed with the speed of the game, and mentions he's winning races easily, putting it down to his snowboarding game experience. The review mentions the freestyle section of the game, which Flynn finds immediately proficient, pulling off combos easily, as it's similar to ramp-oriented competitions. He notes the terminology is taken from skateboarding, and ultimately gives a good verdict, saying, "It's very good." He's quoted as saying, "They've got everything in there from skating to snowboarding. It's all blended in really well." There are 2 screenshots of Trick Style, showing the futuristic racing environments, and the hoverboard action in the game, one showing a nighttime cityscape, and the other in a stadium or arena setting. They highlight the fast-paced, trick-focused gameplay that Flynn seems to be enjoying. The next page is an advert for Mountain Biking UK magazine. It seems they're giving away a free mint source keyring and hyping up a new vision for the same old magazine, which is coming on sale on September 24th. Bit of an odd free gift, but each to their own. DC Mail users are buzzing about the Dreamcast. Many praise its value, graphics, and online capabilities, anticipating it will redeem Sega. Enthusiasts highlight the Dreamcast's superior specs, affordable games, and potential to revolutionize multiplayer gaming. Comparisons are made to PC gaming with the Dreamcast's modem and advanced graphics, with excitement brewing for titles like Quake 2 iArena. Some worry about the hype and console wars, while others are cautiously optimistic, hoping the Dreamcast will push competitors to improve. However, there are also skeptics, predicting a failure similar to the Sinclair QL. Despite mixed opinions, the general consensus leans towards the Dreamcast being a quality machine, with the potential to shake up the gaming landscape. The UK launch bonanza page highlights the excitement surrounding the UK Dreamcast launch. Sega Europe announced a strong game lineup, with Power Stone, Blue Stinger, and Speed Devils receiving early reviews. The article fuels anticipation with a hype meter for launch titles like Blue Stinger, Incoming, Power Stone, Sega Rally 2, Sonic Adventure, and Virtua Fighter 3 TB. Upcoming games before October 23, including Dynamite Cop 2, House of the Dead 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom, also generated significant buzz. The article also previews games coming before Christmas like Soul Calibur, Grand Theft Auto 2, and Resident Evil Code Veronica. Screenshots showcase various games, including racers, fighting games, and zombie shooters, solidifying the Dreamcast's promising launch. The article previews the highly anticipated European launch of the Sega Dreamcast on September 23, positioned to challenge PlayStation's dominance. Sega is investing heavily with a £60 million marketing campaign and aims to sell 1 million units by April 2000. Pre-orders are already exceeding PlayStation's launch numbers. The launch lineup boasts 19 games, including Soul Calibur, with support from major developers like Namco and Capcom, Resident Evil, Code, Veronica. Key European publishers are also on board. Online capabilities, including email and internet access, are highlighted as a major selling point, targeting both casual and hardcore gamers. The article emphasizes the Dreamcast's potential with mentions of titles like Virtua Fighter 3 TB and Sonic Adventure, suggesting a strong presence in major retailers. Reservation promotions with free preview videos are also being offered. Sega is aiming to reclaim its former glory in Europe. Sega's Dreamcast launch is being heavily promoted with distinct advertising campaigns. In the UK, the Big Sell campaign focuses on massive strength and freshness, using ads like Shave and Boy to attract a broad audience. In America, Sega is taking a more unconventional approach with the Sega Scares America campaign, employing horror-themed imagery and unsettling visuals to generate buzz. The Dreamcast made a significant impact at E3, with a lavish stand and popular games like Ready 2 Rumble and Soul Calibur, leading to over 200,000 pre-orders in the US. Additionally, the Dreamcast will receive the popular game Worms Armageddon. Furthermore, a new deal allows Japanese gamers to manage digital photos using the console. This page delves into the exciting prospect of Quake 2 iArena potentially arriving on Dreamcast. It seems legendary developer id Software has been in talks with Sega to bring the ultimate fragfest to the console, but negotiations hit a snag over a non-disclosure agreement. Despite this, hope remains as it's hinted that a third-party software house could handle the porting duties, much like what happened with Doom on PlayStation and 64. The article urges Sega of America to sign the goddamn deal to secure this major coup for the Dreamcast, emphasizing the online possibilities. Other PC titles also rumored for Dreamcast include Soul Reaver, Heroes of Might and Magic 2i, Half-Life, and Omicron. Below that, we have a preview for Resident Evil Code Veronica, highlighting it as the third installment in Capcom's survival horror series, and exclusive to the Dreamcast. The story follows Claire Redfield searching for her brother Chris, and promises to continue the narrative from Resident Evil 2. The article builds anticipation for the game's release later in the year. On the right side of the page, there's an advert for Swatchbeat, introducing their concept of Internet Time, where the day is divided into 1000 beats, aiming for a global time system without time zones. The Dreamcast Weather Map News Roundup covers various topics. Sega is touring the US with demo trucks. The Dreamcast's PC-like architecture is attracting developers to port games. Bernie Stolar, Sega of America's former COO, was replaced. Take-Two Interactive acquired Bungie, sparking speculation about Halo on Dreamcast. Sega will skip the European Computer Trade Show. Sega organized a celebrity football tournament. They're bundling Dreamcasts with Sky Digital TV. European publishers are vying for Japanese Dreamcast game rights. The Australian/New Zealand launch is delayed due to modem issues. The first multimedia grandrooms with a girl group called Deeps were released in Japan. Stormfronts notes highest pre-order numbers exceeding PlayStation's record. Famitsu gave Soul Calibur a perfect score. The UK launch is imminent. A Hotspots table lists the top 10 Dreamcast stories, with Sega and Dreamcast topping the list, and a McDonald's/milkshake tie-in rounding it out. This page features a couple of interesting articles. Firstly, there's a character interview with Big the Cat from Sonic Adventure. It's a light-hearted piece, where Big talks about his simple life, fishing, and his friend Froggy, who has an emerald inside him. He mentions his dislike of Dr. Robotnik and his admiration for Sonic. Then there's an article titled Axe Appeal, which discusses the battle axe as a weapon of choice in video games. It highlights classic games like Golden Axe, Gauntlet, and Soul Blade, or Soul Calibur as it's known now, and even mentions the Dreamcast title House of the Dead 2 and Soul Fighter as examples where axes feature prominently. There are screenshots of Golden Axe, showing the classic side-scrolling action, and Gauntlet, showcasing its top-down dungeon crawling. It talks about the enduring appeal of the axe in gaming, referencing its historical use and cinematic representation, mentioning The Shining as an example of its impact. This page showcases a rather fun feature called Bar Sonic. It's all about cocktails inspired by the characters from Sonic Adventure. How novel! They've got 6 concoctions in total. There's the Knuckles Duster, Sonic Tonic, Cool Cat obviously for Big the Cat, Wild Rose for Amy, Formula 102 which is a bit of a deep cut referencing E102 Gamma, and finally Tail Shaker for Tails. Each drink comes with its recipe, a little taste test blurb, and a bit of info about the character it's named after. It seems DC UK Magazine went down to some trendy place called The Hush, and got a mixer, Phil Westerby, to come up with these. They even mention right at the bottom that these drinks are designed for you to knock up at home yourself, rather than ordering them in a bar, which is probably a good thing considering some of these ingredients. The next page dives into an opinion piece called It Figures, where Dave 2000 confidently states why he thinks the Dreamcast is destined for success in Europe. He argues that the shops are doing well with Dreamcast sales, and the price is right. He also reckons gamers are a bit fed up with the same old PlayStation stuff, and are looking for something fresh, which the Dreamcast provides. Worry. Alongside this, there's a fun little Trumps feature. They've created cutout cards featuring characters from Virtua Fighter 3 TB, remember those? It's a nostalgic throwback to playground games, and you're supposed to stick them on cereal boxes. They've included a bunch of characters, like Akira Yuki, Kagemaru, Jackie Bryant, Sarah Bryant, Lao Chan, Pei Chan, Jeffrey McWild, Wolf Hawkfield, Lion Rafale, Shundi, Takarashi, Aoi Umenokoji and even Duro. Each card gives you background info and vital stats for each character, including height, weight, attack distance, and how easy they are to use in the game. Classic stuff. The next page has a feature called DC Faces with Craig Sullivan, the designer of Trickstyle. He's a 26-year-old skateboarder who's been at it for years and got into game design. He talks about his early days as a games tester, and mentions his first game was Defcon 5, which he wasn't too keen on. He goes on to discuss the development of Trickstyle, highlighting the effort they put into the hoverboard physics and character control. He name-drops other Criterion games like Redline, Subculture and Deep Fighter. Craig reckons Trickstyle will be a hit, because it's easy to pick up and play, and is visually impressive. He envisions players having a blast virtually skateboarding around places like Piccadilly Circus and St James Park in the game. Gameplay, claiming to be Britain's biggest mail-order supplier, offers a price guarantee and promises no hidden charges, with a focus on official UK games. They boast fast delivery and a money-back guarantee. Partnering with BT Wireplay, they highlight the Dreamcast, emphasizing its 3D graphics, online capabilities, and accessories like a keyboard and visual memory unit. The ad showcases a range of upcoming UK Dreamcast games at £33.99 each, including titles like Sonic Adventure and Soul Calibur. Also advertised is the Neo Geo Pocket Color handheld, with games priced at £20.99. Gameplay accepts various payment methods and offers a supplier of computer games guarantee. The next page showcases a striking image of the Dreamcast console itself, bathed in a cool blue light. It's titled Joy Machine in bold white lettering, setting the stage for an article. We see credits for words, Keith Stewart, and photography, Nick Wilson, indicating who's behind this piece. Given the previous page was an advert pushing the Dreamcast as the must-have console, this likely kicks off a feature article in the magazine, probably exploring what makes the Dreamcast such a great joy machine. The article Dawn of Dreamcast by Keith Stewart, with photos by Nick Wilson, details the launch of Sega's Dreamcast. Held in Tokyo in May 1998, the event showcased a console designed to revolutionize digital entertainment, aiming for superior graphics, intuitive controls, and new interactive experiences. Sega's leadership, including Shoichiro Imagiri and Isao Okawa, emphasized the console's ambition to deliver artistic and functional experiences beyond basic gaming. The name Dreamcast, a blend of dream and broadcast, reflects the console's goals, creating immersive gaming experiences and incorporating online capabilities. The article briefly highlights the development process, mentioning code names and the simultaneous development of designs in Japan and the US. The iconic spiral logo, originally orange in Japan for luck and happiness, was changed to blue in Europe, possibly due to market research or existing branding. The piece sets the stage for the Dreamcast as a fresh start for Sega. This page, titled Joy Machine, continues the story of the Dreamcast launch, focusing on the Japanese release and the incredible frenzy it caused. The quote at the top from Isao Okawa, Sega, about technology's impact echoes the ambitions discussed earlier for the console. The article details how the Japanese launch on November 27 saw all 150,000 consoles vanish from shelves immediately, a true testament to the hype. Apparently, even Bill Gates made an appearance via a pre-recorded video, highlighting Microsoft's part in the Dreamcast with Windows CE. They also staged quite a show with a samurai demo presented by Irimajiri-san, and a full banquet hall reveal with gospel choir, making it a real spectacle. It also mentions that key games like Blue Stinger and Sonic Adventure were delayed slightly. Interesting to see Namco joining the Dreamcast development scene. Despite early financial troubles and a price drop, the user base was growing quickly in Japan, and the ALSUS launch was set for September 9th, with a big shipment planned for September 23rd. Visually, we've got photos from the Japanese launch event, including one of Yukawa Hidekazu on stage, and others showing the excitement with people holding Dreamcast boxes. And there's a nice shot of the Dreamcast controller itself. A distinctive bit of kit. The Dreamcast launched with a strong set of peripherals. The comfortable joypad offers both analog and digital control, with slots for VMUS and rumble packs. The innovative VMU, essentially a handheld, features a screen and buttons, saving game data, and offering downloadable minigames and extra content. Sega considered phone integration but abandoned it. For TV connectivity, the Dreamcast supports 60 Hz for smoother gameplay, though a compatible TV is required. Basic RF cables are included, but SCART, Europe, or S-Video, US, are recommended for better picture quality, with composite cables as a cheaper alternative. Other peripherals include the arcade stick, ideal for fighting games and shooters, £35, and a wheel for driving games, though it lacks force feedback, £45. A keyboard for internet and email is also coming, with an online service costing around £20. This page delves into the inner workings of the Dreamcast, revealing the elegance beneath the pale, plastic exterior. The magazine highlights the considered design, noting how components nestle together snugly inside. It points out key elements starting with the Grindrom, a proprietary disk format holding 1 GB of data, larger than standard CADs and cleverly used to combat software piracy. The power supply is described as modular, presumably for easy replacement. The graphics chip, designed by King's Langley-based Videologic and manufactured by NEC, is a Power VR CLX1, capable of handling 3 million polygons per second and fancy visual effects. The CPU, the brain of the machine, is a Hitachi-built Shoeish 4128-bit processor, running at 200 MHz, a significant leap over the PlayStation's 33 MHz. The Dreamcast boasts 16 MB of main operating RAM, considerably more than the PlayStation's 2 MB, along with 8 MB of video RAM. For audio, there's Yamaha's Eika sound system, a powerful setup with a dedicated 32-bit RISC processor, 64 channels and surround sound support promising excellent audio quality. Finally, The UK Dreamcast includes a 33.6 kilobits per second modem, considered a bit slow compared to the faster 56 kilobits per second modem in the US version, though it's mentioned that users might be able to upgrade it later, with BT and ICL working on European online infrastructure. It jokingly mentions online surfing being used for Dreamcast news, quickly correcting itself from a previous accidental phrase. The next page jumps right into explaining the internet on the Dreamcast, headlining it, Let's.go.surfing. It kicks off by saying the Dreamcast isn't just a technically advanced games machine, but also revolutionary as the first console to offer internet access straight out of the box. The article then dives into explaining what the internet is for those not in the know, using terms like World Wide Web, email, newsgroups, and online gaming. It mentions how getting online used to be complicated with modems and ISPs, but the Dreamcast is going to change all that, offering simple, hassle-free internet access with just a phone line and the included software. The article emphasizes that the internet is a network of computer systems, a vast interconnection, making it powerful and flexible, and surprisingly easy to use thanks to protocols. Visually, there's an illustration of a bloke lounging with a Dreamcast controller, looking rather pleased with himself and his internet surfing, and a Dreamcast console is pictured below with a stack of magazines next to it, adding to the overall techie but approachable vibe they're going for. This page continues the deep dive into the Dreamcast's internet functionality, calling it Dreamcast.styled. It's basically a guide to understanding all the internet jargon that was floating around back then. They're breaking down terms like bandwidth, browser, client, e-commerce, FTP, HTML, HTTP, hyperlink, ISP, latency, modem, protocol, search engine, server, URL, and www. It's all about making the internet less scary for Dreamcast owners. URL. They rightly point out that with the Dreamcast you just plug it into the phone line, and away you go. It's mentioned that online gaming is a big part of the appeal, saying you'll be able to play your favorite games against others, no matter where they are. There's also a bit on the history of the internet, touching on ARPANET and Tim Berners-Lee, but it's mainly focused on explaining the basics of how the internet works in simple terms for Dreamcast users. This page delves into the world of Dreamcast multiplayer gaming. It's titled Wired.2.kill, and talks about how the Dreamcast being modem-ready out of the box is a big deal for online gaming. They mention how networked PCs and even PlayStations have done multiplayer, but the Dreamcast and the internet together are really pushing things forward. The article references classic PC multiplayer games like Quake 2, Battlezone, MechWarrior, and X-Wing vs TIE Fighter, to show that online gaming has been around for a bit, especially on PC, but it's becoming more accessible with consoles like the Dreamcast. They are making the point that Dreamcast makes online gaming more affordable compared to PCs, which can cost hundreds more, and console gamers are about to experience online gaming properly for the first time. It discusses the thrill of playing against real people rather than computer AI, and how human deathmatches and team games require real skill and teamwork. It emphasizes the idea of being in a digital space with other people and making real-time decisions, not just being a passive viewer. They hint at future articles covering gameplay hints and server details for Dreamcast multiplayer. It concludes by saying BT British Telecom are going to love the Dreamcast for its online capabilities, suggesting the revenue potential. The page also features artwork of characters with a slightly exaggerated, cartoonish style, one holding a Dreamcast controller and another with a gun, visually representing online multiplayer action. This page is an advert for DC UK Magazine. It's offering a free deal, where if you subscribe to the magazine you get the first 2.5 issues absolutely free. The ad details the subscription costs for different regions. UK is £28 for 12 issues, Europe and North America are both £48 for 12 issues, and the rest of the world is £68 for 12 issues. It also mentions an order code DMCP01 to quote when calling, and that lines are open Monday to Friday, 8 AM to 8 PM. You can also subscribe online at their website. The advert features a woman in the foreground, looking directly at the viewer, with a Dreamcast controller in her hands, and another person slightly out of focus in the background. The next page showcases a first contact preview for Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, highlighting it as a game to watch out for. The article praises the game's beautiful character design, silky smooth animation and deep gameplay, stating Namco has really delivered. It mentions that Soul Calibur was originally an arcade title using Namco's System 12 coin-op format, which was based on PlayStation tech. However, Namco decided to bring it to the Dreamcast, causing a bit of a stir with Sony, especially as Japanese gaming magazine Famitsu Weekly gave Soul Calibur a perfect 40 out of 40 score. The Fine Points section lists the publisher as TBC, developer as Namco, origin as Japan, notes sharp things, lots, and gives Anita, November. There's a quote that describes the game as a weapon-based beat-em-up with 10 swashbuckling sword-wielding characters. The page features several screenshots showcasing the game's 3D fighting action, character models and environments. Captions highlight the animation and lighting effects, the character lineup featuring old favorites and new characters, the 3D fighting arenas compared to 2D lines, and the big weapons in the game. 2 upcoming Dreamcast games are highlighted. First, Toy Commander, developed by No Cliché and published by Sega, is a toy-themed action game with 50 missions, various toy vehicles, and multiplayer modes. Set to release in October, it promises engaging gameplay with a focus on 3D graphics and realistic physics. Next, Hydro Thunder from Midway is a high-speed motorboat racer arriving in October. Adapted from the arcade version, it boasts fast-paced racing across 11 water circuits, power-ups, and diverse boat handling, utilizing Newtonian physics for realistic water effects. This preview highlights 2 Dreamcast fighting games. Marvel vs. Capcom is a 2D beat-em-up featuring a large roster of Marvel and Capcom characters, including Spider-Man and Mega Man. Key features include the Cross Fever Tag Team mode. It's developed by Capcom and published by Virgin Interplay, slated for an October release. Power Stone offers a 3D beat-em-up experience in interactive arenas, allowing players to use environmental objects as weapons and transform using Power Stones. Developed by Capcom and published by Eidos, it boasts a September 23 release, with a Naomi arcade version and added features for the Dreamcast release. This page showcases 2 upcoming Dreamcast titles. First up we have Tokyo Highway Challenge, coming from Genki, who handled the Virtua Fighter 3 TB conversion. It's a street racing game set in Tokyo, focusing on illegal highway racing with maxed-out motors. You can expect Japanese sports cars which are fully customizable. Game modes include the usual quick race and time attack, but there's also a quest mode where you earn money to upgrade your cars. Graphically, it's running smoothly at 60 frames per second. The developer is Genki, publisher is TBC, it's from Japan, and the ETA is October under the Rage label. Next is Wafer Striker, a football game from Rage. The preview highlights its fast and reactive gameplay. It boasts Dreamcast's 3D capabilities for crowd details and even Mexican waves. They're promising plenty of ball game options and lots of international teams. It sounds like they're aiming for a conversion of Virtua Striker 2000 and positioning it against EA's FIFA series. The publisher is Infogrames, developer is Rage, it's a UK title, and the ETA is October. The next page kicks off with Ready to Rumble. Seems Midway are having a go at a proper boxing game on the Dreamcast. They're calling it a fast-paced arcade-style punch-up, not like those slow simulations. Looks like it's got big, cartoony characters, plenty of detail in their faces and expressions apparently, and they're promising up to 20 boxers to choose from in the finished game, each with their own fighting style, strengths and weaknesses based on size and all that. They're saying it takes a bit of skill to get good at, which is always welcome. Then there's a first look at Soul Fighter from Sega. This one's a 3D beat-em-up in a medieval fantasy setting. They're saying it's got classic Sega chop-em-up vibes, like Golden Axe. Basically, you're playing God, rescuing souls and beating up bad guys. Graphics are supposed to be lush for the Dreamcast and they're motion capturing the characters. Sounds like a decent bit of hack and slash fun, with colourful villains, and they're saying it's out in October. 2 racing games are coming to Dreamcast from Ubisoft. Racing Simulation Monaco GP is an updated version of a previous title, boasting enhanced visuals, new sounds, and multi-texturing. It features all circuits and drivers from a fictionalized F1 season, offering various setup options, weather reports, and a retro mode. The game, developed in France, is slated for a September European release. Speed Devils takes a different approach, aiming for a B-movie vibe. Players can choose from 10 cars and race across 13 tracks, with environmental hazards, like tornadoes and meteors. The game emphasizes chaotic handling with handbrake sliding and nitro boosts. It includes championship, multiplayer, time trial, and arcade modes, with VMU support. Developed in France and releasing in September, Speed Devils promises a wild, wacky races-style experience. This page highlights upcoming Dreamcast games and deals. Mortal Kombat Gold, a 3D fighting game, is slated for release in September, promising the series' signature violence. Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball, a pool simulation with realistic physics and environments, arrives in October and includes a bonus version of Drop Zone. The page heavily advertises Special Reserve, a discount club offering free gifts and Dreamcast games at £33.99, including titles like House of the Dead 2 and Sonic Adventure. A standard Dreamcast console deal is also available. Additionally, the page lists various Dreamcast games and peripherals, along with a promotion for the Neo Geo Pocket Color handheld. The DC World section of this magazine, subtitled Everything Dreamcast, opens with a quirky advertisement for FutureGamer.com. The content focuses on Dreamcast games and features. Articles include a call for reader mail, things to write to us about, a Sonic player's guide for Sonic Adventure, and Coining It, which likely covers Sega's arcade ports. Not the Same Cable discusses the advantages of NTSC Dreamcasts and import games. Surf's Up explores the console's internet capabilities. Powered Down is a themed toy page, while Teen Diary offers a behind-the-scenes look at the magazine. The section closes with Brain in a Jar, a philosophical piece by Mark Maslovich. This page welcomes us to the DC World section, encouraging readers to join the fight. Below this, in the Drop Us a Line section, they're asking for reader interaction, wanting to hear views on Dreamcast games, and even offering classifieds for buying and selling hardware and software. They want readers to review games in their own style and send in emails. Moving down to You Need Help, this is clearly the Tips and Cheats section, mentioning help for Virtua Fighter. It seems they are promising plenty of tips and cheats in DC World, and also net advice and cool websites. Next up is Naked Twister, which looks at coin-op conversions. They mention Ferrari 355 Challenge arcade game, and talk about reviewing coin-op games that are emerging from Sega's loins. They also mention long-term tests, and whether Blue Spiky Friend Likely Sonic can still cut the mustard after Sonic Adventure. Trick Style is also mentioned in relation to future games. Finally, Odds and Sods is a bit of a miscellaneous section, covering leftover bits and bobs and toys. They talk about reenacting moments in your back garden with mates, and they are showcasing toys. There's also mention of the Teen Diary, and what they are planning for next month. This player's guide offers a glimpse into Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. It details the first 4 stages, beginning with Emerald Coast's beach run and the Egg Hornet boss battle. Windy Valley introduces a Space Harrier-esque section. Casino Polis is a free-for-all of mini-games for collecting rings, with pinball hazards. Ice Cap features robot battles, springboards, and a killer whale, culminating in a tornado. The guide also covers Boss Chaos Zero, an early water-based battle. Important items are also discussed, including trainers for Sonic's Dash and bracelet for opening doors. Finally, it offers hints and tips for Station Square, Casino, Red Button, Ring Collection and Spin Dash, and Casino Polis, play games, collect rings, and avoid pinball pitfalls. This section of the Sonic Adventure Player's Guide offers stage-specific walkthroughs. Boss Chaos 4 involves using water lilies for platforming and attacking when its head surfaces. Sky Chase Act 1 and 2 are aerial shooting sections with tails. The guide also details the Knuckles boss fight at Mystic Ruin, emphasizing dodging and attacking. Additional stages include Twinkle Park, focusing on dodging and platforming, Speed Highway, involving platforming and a helicopter ride, and Red Mountain, which utilizes rocket launchers, monkey bars, and springboards. The guide also highlights the quest to rescue Amy, leading to the Ice Cap stage. Finally, Skydeck is about navigating a collapsing environment to reach the end. Each section is supported by screenshots. Cacher. This page continues the Sonic Adventure Player's Guide, diving into Stage 9, The Lost World. It details navigating temple ruins, dealing with fireballs and water rooms. The guide highlights using light shafts and square platforms to open doors, and even riding a stone snake boat. It mentions using mirrors to solve puzzles, and navigating platforms over water. Next up is Stage 10, Final Egg, advising players to be brave and take on all enemies for bonuses, or to avoid them if preferred. It describes moving platforms, pink beams, springboards and fans to navigate this stage. The guide mentions fighting droids and purple monsters, collecting rings and reaching the end of the stage. There's a section for Boss Chaos 6, explaining he's vulnerable when frozen after a few hits. The advice is to avoid his mouth and dirty bugger attack, and to keep jump attacking until defeated. Finally, Boss E102 is described as insultingly easy, mainly advising to dodge his laser fire and hit him a few times to win. The hints and tips section provides general advice for platforming, avoiding spiky balls, collecting rings and finding extra lives, specifically mentioning 2 extra lives after a tricky platforming section. It advises ignoring strange purple monsters in one area and using fans and platforms to progress. This guide covers the Egg Viper boss fight in Sonic Adventure, which is supposedly challenging. It then details several secrets. Players can perform faster Sonic spins, play a 2-player Tails mode, and access a pointless full pause screen. Other secrets include alternate views in Twinkle Park, color-changing snowboards, and a hidden KO puzzle game. Completing the game with all 6 characters unlocks Super Sonic. The guide also introduces Trick Style, a new racing game. There are 9 characters divided into racers, stunters, and bullies, each with unique abilities. Players can choose from 4 hoverboards: Rookie, Balanced, Velocity, Speed, Ripslide, Skill, and Boomstar, Strength. This page continues the look at Trick Style, delving into hints and tips for the game. It breaks down the riders into 3 categories: racers, stunters, and bullies. Racers are described as speedy but less strong, recommending you stay ahead of the pack. Shin is highlighted as the best racer. Stunters are trick masters suited for stunt-based challenges, and King is named as the best stunter. Bullies are the tougher characters who can knock other riders around, with Rose being the best bully. Interestingly, there's also an advert for buying a Dreamcast from Simply Games, touting it as the lowest price in the galaxy at £169.99. They're also selling Dreamcast games, like Virtua Fighter 3, Sonic Adventure, Sega Rally 2, House of the Dead 2, and Power Stone, all for just £29.99 each. Seems like a good deal back in the day for those classic titles. This page is all about Ferrari 355 Challenge in the arcades, and how it's more than just a game, it's a real experience. They're saying it's incredibly realistic, the best driving simulation ever, and really puts you in the driver's seat. It talks about how the controls are spot on, and the immersion is vivid, with 3 screens surrounding you, and sound blasting from the speakers. It even mentions how you can choose different driving modes from training to manual with a clutch, and race on 8 different tracks. Then there's a section titled Coining It, describing the typical arcade experience. You keep playing, even as you get sweaty and broke, because you're completely hooked. It perfectly captures that feeling of being glued to the machine. The page also asks, what the hell is a Naomi? And explains it's Sega's latest arcade hardware that allows these top-tier arcade games to be ported to the Dreamcast. It mentions that Sega's arcade heritage is unquestionable, listing classics like Outrun, Space Harrier, Virtua Fighter, and Daytona USA. They highlight how Naomi is powerful, essentially a more powerful Dreamcast in an arcade cabinet, enabling games like Ferrari 355 Challenge, Crazy Taxi, Zombie Revenge and House of the Dead 2 to appear on the Dreamcast, emphasizing the quality of Sega's exclusive games. The Dreamcast is getting 2 arcade hits. Crazy Taxi, described as pure arcade fun, offers fast-paced taxi driving through San Francisco. The game emphasizes its addictive gameplay and arcade controls, with stunning graphics that surpass those of other driving titles. It's expected to be a massive hit, leaving PlayStation owners envious. Zombie Revenge, a scrolling beat-em-up, takes inspiration from Resident Evil and the House of the Dead franchise. It features gritty levels, combo attacks, and exciting plot events, including a train level and thrilling weaponry, like the ability to impale zombies. Although simple in its core gameplay, it offers a lot to do. Screenshots showcase Crazy Taxi's chaotic driving and Zombie Revenge's zombie battles. These games highlight the Dreamcast's ability to deliver top-tier arcade experiences thanks to the Naomi hardware. Importing NTSC Dreamcast games offered advantages for PAL region gamers. Region locking was implemented to control piracy and release schedules. Importing allowed access to games earlier, as Japanese releases often preceded others, and games that might never be released in PAL regions. NTSC versions often ran at a smoother 60 Hz compared to PAL's 50 Hz, improving gameplay. Essential import considerations include owning an NTSC Dreamcast or a region unlocking device, a TV compatible with NTSC signals, and a step-down transformer for voltage differences. Using SCART or S-video cables is recommended for optimal picture quality. Finally, consider whether you can read Japanese and understand the culture if importing Japanese games, and your intentions for online play. This page reviews several upcoming or recently released games. The King of Fighters, Dream Match 99, a potential UK release, is a highly playable and polished fighting game with a large character roster, appealing to both casual and hardcore fans. Pen Triathlon, a released racer, is criticized for its uninspired level design and unfavorable comparison to Mario Kart. Get Bass, also released, is a quirky fishing game with potential novelty appeal for Dreamcast owners, despite its odd concept. Finally, Psychic Force 2012, unlikely to be released in the UK, is a projectile-based fighting game praised for its unique 3D movement and powerbar system, making it a reasonably entertaining purchase for fans of the genre. The next page is all about surfing the net on your Dreamcast, well, trying to anyway. They're introducing Dream Passport, the software that gets you online. They are honest about the limitations of Dreamcast Internet, explaining that fancy websites with all the bells and whistles like Java and QuickTime are a no-go. And of course, browsing on your telly isn't exactly pin-sharp. DC UK is launching its own website, promising news, previews and links for Dreamcast owners. There's a section called Sites for Sore Eyes, which are website recommendations, including The Onion for satirical news, Pure Jam for urban music, Jonathan Kaner's Zodiac forecasts, ChimpNet with pictures of monkeys, and Ain't It Cool News for movie news. And as always, there's a Write to DC UK section, with contact details for sending in your letters. This page in the magazine is all about playtime, with some Dreamcast-themed goodies. First up, they've got the House of the Dead 2 light gun, and they're pushing the translucent plastic version over the gunmetal grey one, saying it's great for pretending to be in the game and scaring kids cheeky. It's called the See-Through Space Gun, and it's going for £2.50. Next is Incoming, and they're suggesting you grab some paper airplane sets to recreate scenes from the game, warning you not to poke your eyes out with the pointy noses. These aircraft sets are £3.99. Then there's Sega Rally 2, with a 1/43 scale model of the Peugeot 306, the Rally El Corte Ingalls winner, priced at £19.79. Finally, it's Trick Style with a skateboard, a New Deal tech deck for £7.99, suggesting it as a safer alternative to real skateboarding tricks. Good advice for us old-timers. The next page kicks off with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek piece called Best Job in the World, and it's all about what it's like making a games magazine. Apparently, it's an endless stream of free games, trips and booze, interspersed with a bit of writing. Sounds about right. Then there's a Team Machine section, highlighting a feature called Body Parts, which sounds utterly bonkers. They're actually suggesting you cut out and mix and match bits of the team's faces to create your own Mr. Dreamcast monstrosity. It's that kind of humor you expect, isn't it? Scattered around the page are diary snippets giving you a flavor of what they've been up to. Looks like they've been dealing with deadlines, website ideas, and even a trip to a football match. A ticket for Saint Etienne against Arsenal is pictured. And to round it off, there's a truly bizarre this month, the teeth feature, where they've got close-up shots of various team members' teeth. Casper's are apparently the worst, with Keith's a close second, and Lee apparently looks like he's in pain. Bit of a strange one, that is. This page is an advert for the next issue of the magazine. Looks like issue number 2 hitting shelves on September 29th. The big headline is Power Stone, Capcom's new fighter for the Dreamcast, and it's promised as the first official UK review, being called a thumb-breaking beat-em-up, so it sounds like it's going to be a proper button masher. Besides Power Stone, the next issue is also promising some other reviews, a bit of news, loads of previews, and a couple of funky features. There's a picture of a Dreamcast console there as well, just to remind you what magazine you are reading. This page features advertisements from several game retailers. CA Games offers UK and import games, both new and used, for PlayStation and N64. Fantasia Consoles specializes in Dreamcast, including imports, peripherals, and trade-ins, also catering to PSX and N64. Fantasy World Launch Titles promotes the Dreamcast console at £199.99 and lists launch games, claiming to be the largest online store. Cybernet Deck offers a buy any game, get second half price mail order deal. Game Gizmo highlights next day delivery for console needs, including Dreamcast, and lists prices for various items. Variables, aka Dreamcast Dave, showcases import/UK machines and Dreamcast controllers. Kart Club buys, sells and trades a vast selection of games, including PlayStation, 64, Sega Saturn, and Dreamcast titles. Finally, Mastercard Consoles and Games UK offers discounts for multiple game orders over £100, featuring Dreamcast bundles and games. This page features an article interviewing Mark Maslovich from Sega Europe, discussing his game choices as a brain in a jar, across multiple platforms, including classics like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Half-Life. Reviews of Dreamcast games are also provided. Soul Calibur is praised for its visuals and depth, Sonic Adventure for its improved localization, Ready 2 Rumbles for its fun, and House of the Dead 2 for its arcade-perfect conversion. Virtua Striker 2 V2000 is highlighted as a personal favorite. An advert promotes the Dreamcast for £189.99, emphasizing its ahead-of-its-time status and including a free SCART cable. Various accessories are listed with prices. The page concludes with lists of games expected to be released, with titles like Blue Stinger, Sonic Adventure, Ready 2 Rumbles, and many more.